Joining me now in studio is actor Jason Isaacs. Isaacs is a British citizen. Thank you for
true.
Coming from across the pond, Labour Party supporter and the star of USA Network's event series Dig, which airs Thursdays at 10 Eastern and 9 Central. We'll talk about Dig in a couple of minutes. A couple of other political things. Obama in Europe. Is he as popular as he once was?
Well, it depends where you go. Europe is not
Right,
it's a contiguous piece of land, although Britain is an island, and it depends entirely on what his relationship with the individuals are. I mean, at the moment we have a general election going on in England, and people are less interested in American policy, foreign or domestic, than they are about Tony Blair and immigration, frankly. Tony Blair? I can't believe I did that. I suddenly had a flashback. Sorry, Ed Miliband and David Cameron and Nigel Farage. Immigration is the hot topic all over Europe, as indeed it is often in America.
And is your party going to win?
Well, we're in an interesting situation in Britain in that we're entering into a world of continually hung parliaments and coalition politics, and nobody really has the history of knowing how to negotiate those things and leverage them. We've had, like you, a two-party government for a very, very long time. Essentially, this coalition that's been there for the last few years was really a Tory government, and it looks like the next parliament will be hung, and there's some very difficult decisions to be made.
And what's the big immigration debate about? How does it, who's?
Well, we have an anti-immigration party, which is, crudely characterised as the racist party, and unsurprisingly, they have their strongest supporters in those rural areas of the country where there are, in fact, no immigrants at all. And what happened is there was such a panic in the mainstream parties that they just absorbed wholesale, instantly, in a rather fearful way, a lot of this immigration rhetoric, to the extent that that sometimes it's difficult to see the clear line between them. But I think that the Labour Party is certainly more tolerant in that area because the Tory party plays into the fear of voters a lot.
You were quoted as saying, "I'm a huge new Labour supporter, but they and most of the West have done away with the Geneva Convention." We're talking about waterboarding and the like. We're
talking about everything that happened post 9/11 and all the different civil rights that were assaulted and things that have been long-standing, the kind of tenets on which most of our Western democratic freedoms are built. The right to silence and various things like that. And it seemed like when our backs were against the wall in the West, we threw almost everything out of the window. And you look at the people, some of the evidence of the people have been held at Guantanamo for a long time with no evidence, no access to it. And I trained as a lawyer originally, and it's not so much to do with whether people are or aren't guilty, it's to do with the notion that if we don't obey the rule of law and the rules of evidence and all the hard-fought protections for our citizens, then why should we expect other people to?
Is the Labour Party strong in that area?
Well, the Labour Party have been in opposition, so it's always easier when you're in opposition to talk about the things you would do and might do and will do. I think that in the end, they have a fairer approach. They have an approach which is moral to how to govern the country and how to spend our collective money and how to deal with foreign policy. We'll see what happens when hopefully they get in power in a week and a half's time.
We'll talk about Dig in one more minute, but first, what do you think? The Supreme Court is going to rule on same-sex marriage in the United States. The thinking is they're going to say, okay. How do you feel about that? Do you think they will say
Well,
that?
again, I trained as a lawyer, so marriage is a very strange institution. It was originally, a contract for goods. It was about chattel, so it wasn't really, it has nothing to do with faith or God or anything else. So we got married in the end, my wife and I, for insurance purposes, because I certainly don't own her. Anyone who knows her knows that. But the idea that it should be denied to gay people, or anything should be denied to gay people, is medieval as far as I'm concerned. And that's supposedly there's a separation of church and state, both in England and America, and in practice there clearly isn't. And it's an obscenity, frankly, to stand in the way of marriage.
Is it a big debate in Britain?
It's not. I mean, in Britain, it was surprising to me. I've lived here a lot and worked here a lot, and to see how some of these, what would be peripheral issues in England, like abortion, which is, there's no discussion of at all in England. It's just, obviously, it's a fact that women have control of their own bodies, and gay marriage can actually scupper an entire election and decide who gets into power. It seems very, very odd.
Tell me about Dig.
Well, it's actually, it's not a separate subject. It feels like it's a segue into a showbiz chat, but in fact, Dig is an event series, a mini-series about religious intolerance and extremism, and it's dressed up as an action-adventure mystery conspiracy thriller set in Jerusalem. And what it's about is me trying to stop the end of the world. There are various groups, I'm sure you know too well, I hope they're not watching, in this country mostly, very well funded, who would like this to be the last day on the planet for me and 6 billion others so that Jesus can walk the earth again, or the Messiah, depending on which camp you come from. And it all centers around the Dome of the Rock, which is this tiny piece of real estate, the most controversial, contested piece of land in the history of mankind, I think. And if anybody lights a spark there, the flames will be felt here and everywhere else on the planet. And I'm trying to stop it happening.
And the title means?
Well, you dig down, it's an archaeological mystery. We actually shot in Jerusalem in tunnels and caves. And
you worked in Jerusalem?
Yeah, the mayor of Jerusalem basically gave us the keys to the city, and we were shooting right underneath everything on top of us, and we're shooting on top of it, in and around it. There are sights on screen you've never seen before, and places you've never seen before. But mostly there's kind of passions and groups and sinister conspiracies that people, A, have not seen before, and B, probably don't realize are real. When I first met the writers, the guy who created Homeland, Gideon Raff, and Tim Kring, who created Heroes, I said, where'd you get this insane story from? It's brilliant. And they went, the newspapers, and the Bible, and the Torah. And I went back to the internet, and I barely slept that night for fear that some of these people would get away with what they're trying to do. And our story, I mean, it's an entertainment, but it deals with stuff that's very real in the zeitgeist.
Are you from Israel?
No, I'm from Israel. I'm playing an FBI agent in there. I'm in the consulate. It was a surprise to me. You probably know this. You know everything, Larry. But I was surprised that every consulate and embassy around the world has legal attaches who are actually FBI, and their job.
I've heard that. It's never been said.
Well, I've said it now. Please don't kill me. Other people told me, but they are there to investigate American citizens who either commit or are victims of crime. And my character goes very off-piste. I start investigating a murder, and much, much bigger ripples of conspiracy emerge.
Is this the only series shot in Israel?
Yeah, it's certainly the only series that's shot in Jerusalem, many of these places. And they created a tax break for us, and the mayor who wants to put Jerusalem on the map, he's a very forward-thinking guy. He's a high-tech gazillionaire, and he is working very hard to include all the communities and to move it, into the 21st century. It's an interesting place, Israel. You're in Tel Aviv, which is the most modern place in the world, on the cusp, not just high tech, but in terms of civil rights and in every way, in the arts. And then half an hour is Jerusalem, when you might as well be driving back 3,000 years as you drive up the highway.
It's a great place, though.
Yeah.
All over the country.
Well, that's one of the things you get to see on screen. I mean, there was a huge controversy when we set out to make it. People assumed that we would be telling a story about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In fact, it's about something much bigger and much older. And it's nice to see that place brought out on screen and telling a story that you don't always see every night in the news.
A lot of action?
There's a lot of action, there's a lot of mystery, there's a lot of sex, there's a lot of... one of the great things about making a self-contained series with a beginning, middle, and end, you take storytellers like Gideon and Tim, and you finally let them off the leash, so they can tell a real story with an arc, and it also means they can kill off so many people. There's a pile of twitching corpses. By
How many episodes?
10 episodes. We're about to have episode 9, I think. I don't know what day you'll go out with this interview, but it's coming to a gigantic, stunt-filled, surprise-laden climax. I sound like a salesperson, but the truth is, numbers of times I opened the script, and I'll try not to swear on your show, but I just couldn't believe they had held this surprise back from me. I'm the lead actor.
Let's take a look at a clip from Dig.
Pastor Billingham.
Yes?
We have a problem.
What kind of problem?
The FBI knows we're here.
It changes nothing. 2 days from now, the FBI won't exist. Nothing in this world will exist. We keep our eyes on the prize. First Jehoshaphat, then Armageddon. Let's go!
We gotta stop them. No, wait. We gotta see what they're planning. We got them all in one place. We don't know who else is involved. Wait. No! They're getting away! Car! Jehoshaphat, I heard that word. The Donaldson kid. He was obsessing over it.
What are you talking about?
Come on, let's go.
Well, now, We know that the large right-wing group in America that supports Israel doesn't support them because they love Jews, support them because they believe Christ is coming back.
Well, some of them believe they should try and foment the Third World War. That's the stuff that surprised me, that there are people who are sitting in office in this country who are absolutely manifest, it's not a conspiracy thing, who want to bring about the rapture. And the rapture will only happen if 6 billion or so of us end up as a pile of ash. I'm not keen on that myself. Now, I'm all for religious tolerance, except when it comes to killing me and my family.
Are Orthodox Jews a part of the equation?
There are numbers of Orthodox Jews who are absolutely not, don't believe in Israel existing. They believe in some more ancient manuscript and destiny for us, and they are, in our show, they are in league with some of the more insane extremist Christian groups trying to bring about the end of everything.
And what brings the FBI to this?
Well, there's an FBI station in Jerusalem, obviously, and there is a murder, and I started investigating it. And I mean, I'm skipping the kind of very perverse character stuff. I've lost my daughter, and there's a girl who looks like her who I both want to save and possibly sleep with. It's an adult, nuanced drama, but you start investigating it, and no one believes me. No one believes that this could happen, and that these groups could be trying to do what they do, and it's down to me to save the world. I can only hope that in the real world there are people as dogged and as tough and as cool as the character I play on screen, because if not, we're all in big trouble.
But you believe there are people who think this way?
I know there are people. I'm not doing it to hype a television series. I mean, part of the reason I signed up for it is because I believe in entertainment. I want people to be grit, but I also want people to have a chat afterwards and then run to the internet and maybe not vote for these people and not give them their money afterwards.
Yeah. Your parents live in Israel?
My dad is. My mum actually passed while we were shooting the pilot. Yeah.
Oh, really?
You know what? It was an interesting time because we shot the opening 90-minute episode. The conflict broke out in Gaza, so there were missiles going overhead, and Iron Dome was blowing them out of the sky. And the rest of the production left. We shut down for 2 weeks. It was always the plan. And I stayed because my mum was sick, so I was there throughout the conflict and the war, and I saw it from both sides. I'm not Israeli, you know. I'm English and American, really, in my soul. And I was inside there listening to the Israeli news. I was doing what I always do. I was looking at Al Jazeera News and Jordanian and Palestinian and American and English. And it's interesting how the very same incident can be described from 5 different Rashomon-like perspectives and experienced through a different history. And you know, it makes it very difficult to be optimistic about the future.
Yeah. What does your father do?
Nothing. He's retired. He said, I'll tell you what he did on the election day. We were going for a walk. He's not very well, my dad. So we were going for a gentle walk, and his phone went. He said, sorry, he went, it's Netanyahu. And I went, sorry? He went, it's Bibi on the phone. And they had this automated call-out on the day of the election, which I'm sure all of your viewers are aware of, which pandered to the very worst kind of racist fear of Israelis. And, you know, they are fearful Israelis. They're surrounded by enemies on the border.
That's where Netanyahu said in that call,
he said, if you don't vote for me, the Arabs are coming. They'll get you in your bed, basically. And then retracted it the day after. Said that, you know, I don't believe in peace or a two-state solution. Retracted that too. And it was the most underhand, House of Cardsian, brilliant political maneuver and immoral political maneuver I've ever seen. And it was very odd. You know, people talk about Israel and Israeli opinion, like everywhere, like this country. There's no such thing as a unified opinion. I was in Tel Aviv, surrounded by artists. Nobody I've ever met in Israel would vote for Netanyahu. Nobody in Tel Aviv voted for Netanyahu. But there are people in the West Bank and near Gaza who do, and people who are scared. And the answer, obviously, is to try and the solution has to come from within Israel and from within the Palestinian community, not from outside, I think.
You've been quoted as saying you're a Jewish man who does almost nothing Jewish in his life.
Well, I married a wonderful non-Jewish woman. My children are confused. I'm a citizen of the world. You know, I don't believe too much in tribal politics. I try and take a moral stance on anything I can. But you know,
you're a citizen of both countries, right?
No, my daughter was born here. I have a visa to work here, but I feel as American. I don't sound as American. I feel as American as I do English, and as horrified by things that we do as much as I'm in love with the countries.
Me too. Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jason Isaacs. Dig, by the way, airs Thursdays at 10 Eastern, 9 Central on the USA Network.
It's coming to a climax, so catch up before people spoil it for you.
Get ready. He lives, I hope.
Don't put your money down.